Hello, Jose Rodriguez here. I was going to do this outside today. I checked, it was 96 degrees with about 102 heat index. Nah, I'm a lot safer here in my dungeon. As you may have been watching in my last several videos about printing your monochrome images or any type of image so that it is neutral. Okay, you don't have a color cast invading your beautiful prints. I talked about simply using the driver. This has been misconstrued by many as thinking that I stress that you should only print with the driver. No, that's not the case at all. I stress that you should print with the driver when you are beginning to do this, whether it's as a job, a hobby, a craft, whatever. When you first get your first printer and you have no clue what you are doing, why not just use the driver? The driver will not let you down. But later on, what happens? You start experimenting with other papers, and not necessarily the ones for Canon printers or the ones for EPSON printers. You're going to go and expand your horizons and start printing on other people's papers, other manufacturers. Guess what? You no longer can use the simple rules that I always laid out of simply setting your driver to control color by simply matching the paper choice for a given Canon paper or a given EPSON paper. Okay? That leads you to the biggest problem you will ever encounter. Not setting the application correctly or the driver correctly. And I'm going to bring out a couple of little charts that I made. I scribbled them originally with a pen, but that would not be very professional. So anyway, here we go. Let's just have a quick look at this. You see, I just made two little pieces of AV help here. Driver controls color, and we're going to talk about just Canon printers because at this point, they're probably the most widely used printers out there by you guys, our wonderful viewers. When the driver controls color by choosing the paper type, and again, it's got to be a Canon paper, just like you see back here and all over my floor actually. You locate that paper type in your paper choice. It'll be photo paper something or other, Pro Luster, semi-gloss, Pro Matte, whatever. You choose it. By doing that, you're telling the driver to search throughout your hard drive of your computer, locate the matching Canon paper profile, and use it. So in short, you are printing with color managed workflow when you let the driver control color. What do you have to do to ensure that's actually happening though? You go into color intensity manual adjustment. And again, guys, if you have a Mac, this is totally different. Okay, this is only for Windows users. We have to do things manually. Okay, so you go to color intensity manual adjustment. That will be found in your basic window. When you right click and choose printer preferences, you will be led to that window. You will choose photo printing, you will choose the paper type, you will choose the quality, the size that you wish to print on, and color intensity manual adjustment. That will take you then to a beautiful secondary page with a bunch of beautiful sliders that you are to ignore, and then click on matching, and there in matching choose ICM or driver matching, one of those two. One of those two will automatically tell the driver to use the correct paper profile for a given Canon paper. Canon paper only. But now you have gone ahead and started purchasing papers from other manufacturers, and you feel wonderful because they provide you with downloadable ICC profiles. Here's the problem with that. Those ICC profiles are not the Canon ICC profiles. Now, if you download a profile for a paper that happens to have a luster surface and you want to print it on a Canon Pro-1000, more than likely they'll tell you to choose Canon Pro Luster as a paper choice. Well, that's going to link it to the Canon profile for what? For Canon Pro Luster paper. But you're using someone else's paper. So now you're going to have to switch tactics. You're going to have to tell your application to control color. And when you do that, if you install your profile correctly, you should be able to tell the application in its particular printing module to no longer let the driver control color, but to let it control color. Once you do that in Photoshop or Lightroom, for instance, you will then have access to ICC profiles that may be installed in your hard drive. At that point, you will choose the Red River Polar Luster Paper profile that you downloaded, and you will set the driver for Canon Pro Luster Paper. But in this case, you tell the driver, hey, please do not accidentally load the Canon Pro Luster profile. I am using the Red River Polar Luster profile. So you have to set that color intensity manual adjustment to none. Matching and then none. None, okay? Not ICM, not driver matching any longer, but to none. The reason being is that it's either this or this controlling color, the driver or the application. When the driver does it, you do not let the application control color. You tell it to let the driver control color, and it will keep its hands out of the mix, okay? Never both. Once you do that, you will get strange looking results. You'll be scratching your head wondering what the heck happened. Yeah, that's because you're double profiling. Now on a Macintosh computer, using the Mac driver for a specific printer, color matching is turned on and off automatically for you, depending what you tell your application to do. If you tell your application to allow the driver to control color, then it will allow the driver to control color. Vice versa. If you tell the application you want it to control color through another type of ICC profile, not one for Canon papers, not one for EPSON papers for that matter either. It works for both types of printers. Then it will turn off color matching or color management in the driver and only allow the application through its own printer module to then allow you to manually load the matching ICC profile for, I have it over there, Red River Polar Luster Paper. I have a roll of that on my P800 as well. So that's what I do. Never both. Remember, folks, never load both or allow both to control color. Now, one fabulous thing about Qimage Ultimate, the latest, in fact, just even a couple of issues ago, they introduced automatic adjustments or settings for your driver, whether it's Epson or Canon. If you tell Qimage you want it to control color, it automatically turns this printer's driver color matching to none. Okay. If you tell within Qimage to allow the driver to control color, then it turns this color matching to ICM, matching ICM. That's exactly what you need to do if you were doing it manually. It's doing it for you automatically. So that's a wonderful incentive for you to consider buying Qimage. I don't work for Qimage, so don't come back at me saying that I'm trying to sell you Qimage. No, I am suggesting that you buy it because it is simply fabulous. All right, I hope that clears up what happens when you either tell the, let me get this correct, the driver to control color, I had it on the left side, or the editing application to control color. Either one is fine. This one will perform great. And this one will perform great. Together, they argue and they fight, okay? And the results are terrible. So make sure that if you all of a sudden are experimenting, printing through ICC profiles, not the ones installed by Canon or Epson, but the ones that you yourself installed after you downloaded them from a third-party paper provider, make sure that the application is controlling color this time. Now, you might be confused as to why do I have to choose a luster paper? Because when the manufacturers or whoever is selling these papers created a profile for it, that's the paper choice that they chose when they printed out all those pretty color charts from which then they generate a profile. So if they use ProLuster from Canon to create that set of color patches, then you also must use ProLuster when you are printing with Photoshop or Lightroom or Qimage or whatever you're using to print with. You have to tell it to control color, turn off color matching or color management in the driver. If you're on Windows, you have to do that manually. If you're using Qimage, automatic. And then go ahead and choose the correct profile. In fact, Qimage will actually locate and suggest pretty much the correct profile for you, even if you're using EPSON over there and Canon over here. It does that automatically. Again, another fabulous feature that they have introduced. I hope you're not too confused. Of course, you could always ask below. Okay. I know people need this to be hammered over and over and over again. But again, I had the same problem when I was starting out myself. I had no clue what I was doing. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and always like. Hit that like button. Did I make you angry for you to hit an unlike? Oh my gosh. I hope I didn't. Some people do just for fun. I don't understand that. Happy printing, everybody. Bye-bye.